I'm super stoked to kick things off. Welcome everybody to the Nonstop Shop. We're going to be talking about all things live streaming. My name is Boye. I'm co-founder and president of The Future Party. We've got a really dope media brand. We host events. We create content. You can join our daily newsletter, futureparty.com. Stoked again that you guys are joining us. And thank you to Hawk Media for eCom Week. Excited to jam. So we've got a quick session today. We have a lot of great experts within this live streaming field. And so I want to bring everyone up to chat and jam about what's happening in the space. So, I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. We can start with you, Matt, and go to Armand, John, and Max, and quick who you are, what you do, and why you care about live stream shopping.
Absolutely. My name is Matt McGuire. I'm the CVO and partner over at Lemonade TV. Been in the live streaming space for about 4 years now, but was heavily involved about a decade ago through the entertainment side as well. So I've kind of seen the curve from the entertainment and then moving into live shopping. So it's been a very fun journey.
Amazing. Thanks, Matt. What's up, Armand?
What's up? My name is Armand Wilson. I head up partnerships and marketing at Whatnot. You kind of think of Whatnot as kind of like eBay meets Twitch. I've been with the company for about a year now. Prior to this, I was working in a couple different creator platforms and have been in this space. So super excited to be here with you all. And yeah.
Amazing. Hey, John.
Hey everybody, I'm John Petrocelli. I'm the founder of Bulldog DM. We are the world's most experienced live stream studio. Essentially, we provide all the turnkey services and strategies that our clients, i.e. brands, need to kind of navigate the world of live video and really help them unlock really extended watch times, which obviously can lead to things like purchases, et cetera. We've been in this business for 9 years. I have about 20 years overall in live streaming.
Wow, 20 years, amazing. Max, how's it going?
Hey, good. So I'm Max Benader, co-founder and CEO of Orca. We're a startup that's about 10 months old. We like to bill ourselves as the social commerce retailer, and live is a big part of that. So we go live almost daily out of our studio at the Grove in Los Angeles, on Amazon Live and other platforms. We're one of the top live streamers on Amazon. We also put live shopping programs together for partners like Zappos and Samsung. And I have a history of building businesses in the creator economy. So I helped put together Doing Things Media, which is one of the largest meme networks on the internet with 70 million followers, as well as a number of other businesses.
Amazing. Love Doing Things. So guys, live stream shopping, it's a trend. It's been getting a lot of attention, I would say recently, especially this year and last year, but it's been around for a while, especially in China, which has really adopted it. And my question to everybody here is, what is live stream shopping exactly, and why do people care so much about it? Anyone can answer, but you have 5 seconds to raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm just going to choose somebody.
All right, well, I'll jump in. I think the evolution we're going to see in live shopping in the US is already clearly very different than it is in China. It's a phenomenon in China and in Asia. But what we've noticed is the moment you put a live host on a website or inside of a shopping experience, it's so much more powerful than a static web page. So it's self-evident. Once it happens and as more retailers and brands start to embrace live shopping and they realize that you can have a host communicating directly with folks who are interested in purchasing. And there's so many applications, from the host trying on different outfits, showcasing outfits, answering questions about a product and its features, to entertaining them. It's so self-evident when you see it happen that I think if you have a retail presence on the internet or you're an e-commerce company, you're going to want to have some regular cadence of a live host to help convert. And the data backs that up. There was a McKinsey study that came out recently that showed just supercharged levels of conversion and engagement and repeat purchasing through a live shopping experience versus a traditional e-commerce experience.
I would also add on to that as well. I think obviously what's happening in China and throughout other parts of the world is very fascinating and in a slightly different lane. So I definitely agree and echo that statement. I think also for me as well, it's this direct way to connect to nano and micro communities, which are truly a gold mine in being able to have high conversions and a good success rate in consumerism, versus traditional models that have obviously been adapted in American culture, such as, Instagram, where you're posting, an influencer might have, 1 million followers and your conversion's actually quite low or could be diluted due to the volume and frequency of products. So being able to connect directly and have a host and be able to really leverage those smaller nano micro communities has been very fascinating on our end for sure.
Yeah, and I would reiterate that as well. I mean, a big part of Whatnot and what we've been trying to do is go after these really passionate niche communities. We've had a ton of success in collectibles, things like Pokemon cards and comic books. But I think just live shopping in general, you can kind of think about it as shopping, can be super transactional. Like everyone, buys something on Amazon and it's like a pretty emotionless purchase. But I think in its best form, it can be something that really sparks joy and is entertaining. Walking into a cool that goes from everything from like walking into a cool retail store to having an amazing experience online. And I think if at the core, live shopping is what it's like leveraging video it's over photos to sell products. But I think like when you tap into like the best parts of live shopping, what you're getting this entertainment, you're getting like part auction house excitement, you're tapping into communities, you're able to get context on products that you wouldn't be able to get if you were just buying something on a website. And that is probably what excites me most about the space.
I think from our perspective, probably the most disrupted industry in the last 20 years has been advertising, right? So it's really hard for brands now to make connections with consumers. And, brands have three significant problems. They have, brand safety, cord cutting, and ad blocking, combined with, the average consumer attention span has dropped from, I think, 12 seconds, 6, 8, 10 years ago down to, 4 seconds or so. So there's a big challenge with connecting directly to those individuals. And what we have seen is the rise of live video is now the place and the number one way to engage these consumers. And if executed properly, you can unlock really unparalleled watch time. And now the ability to convert and buy something that you connect with in real time. That's really for us, we've seen is the home run and the solution to these are real, these are significant problems, right? If you can't get to somebody and get their attention, you're not going to be able to convert them over to a purchase. And I think, to Max's point too, is if you can connect and present these products with somebody that the consumer has an interest in, a connection with, a level of trust, the opportunity then becomes really, really compelling. And this can all happen on a mobile handset. So that's also a big advantage of this overall space.
So all of you really just gave a whole slew of reasons as to why this medium is really important, popular. It's actually quite fascinating to listen to. And one recurring theme that I've heard is engagement, just of how this medium is really more engaging and interactive. And, one thing, Matt, that you kind of alluded to, and Armand, is this idea of community and how this medium has been able to tap into community in a really different way. Can we speak on that a little bit? I think you mentioned like nano and micro communities, and then Armand, I know Whatnot deals with the creator community, but I'd love to just talk about how communities are leveraging these platforms.
For sure, I'll go first. Yeah, so with the nano and micro communities, referring to digital shopping, what's interesting about the live stream component of that is people more in the older age brackets, let's say 30, 40, 50s, they love to get to know the person who's actually selling them the product, right? And if this person is a Facebook group or might be an Instagrammer and they might only have 100 followers, right, which would be classed as a nano, then they might find that the actual interaction and the frequency of engagement is incredibly high due to the algorithm and due to they would have personal relations with everyone that they follow and engage with. So that being said, if there is a live streaming opportunity and there might be a Deborah that sells handbags, you might find that the 100 people that a consumer would follow and self-promotes to that, well, then now you find yourself in a loop where you have a high volume of people with inside a very, very tight, small community that might be in one geolocation could consume that product. So what's really interesting is those consumers will get to know who the seller is. They'll establish that, and it will start to follow a slight trend in, when new products are released, when they go live again, when they start to reconnect, you start to create this kind of like vortex, which was very, very apparent in other companies back in the day, where you would go and you would know the actual local shop owner, for example, and you would know when the products are coming in. You would go say hello to them. Now with, obviously all of the crazy technology and the zero friction of doing this, from a mobile device, it allows you to tap directly into those little small pocket communities and be able to familiarize yourself with that host, feel good, build the trust, rather than going so macro where it's like, here's 50,000 people and maybe your potential click-through rate and your frequency of engagement is so dicey sometimes, and it's very hard to build the trust. So for us, it's extremely important that we try to find those niche pockets and we really build that trust in that network. So when people consume, they actually feel like they're engaging on an intimate level versus a straight transaction level. Because one purchase is great, but 10 purchases over a year is so much better. So.
Yeah, I love that, Matt. It reminds me a lot, but before I was at Whatnot, I was at this startup called The Anchor, which is a podcast platform that was ultimately bought by Spotify. And by the end of it, we were powering like 80% of all new podcasts. So a lot of that was like the long tail and the torso of podcast creators. And I think what you've seen across like the internet and like these different creator platforms is you're seeing this rise of these like smaller, like niche creators. And the reason that I think that is because people just care about authenticity and they want to tap into things that are super niche. Like, and I think even things that you would consider niche, like before I joined Whatnot, I thought, action figures was like a niche category. It's a massive category.
Huge.
Like I think on eBay, it's like $20 million in GMV a month. So like people are looking for that stuff and that content. And I think that's like the trend of where everywhere is going. And the nice part about live stream commerce and like how that plays into it is you can say, I follow this person, there's 100 followers because they're, the wrestling action figures guy. And I love the content they're putting out. They go live and you may only have 20 people in that live stream, but those 20 people like are having a really deep conversation about the products. They're engaging in like a really interesting way. And you're essentially getting this almost like cameo effect from those folks who essentially are tapping into someone who they have a ton of admiration and similarities to, which I think is really interesting.
I'd love to, Boye, chime in real quick if you're not jumping in with your next question, which is, I agree with all of that, Armand and Matt, by the way. And I'd like to take this to a bird's eye view so that it doesn't get lost, which is I believe live shopping and social commerce is actually a shift in all of retail, the $4 trillion retail business. So yes, absolutely. Nano and micro communities. I think what Whatnot is doing with auctions and focusing on these niche communities is brilliant. But at the end of the day, like I went to J. Crew, which I do once every 5 years to get some new clothes. And I was at this,
Nice.
I was at the Century City Mall in LA. And I was like, it was lunchtime. I was hungry. I didn't want to go into the dressing room. So I sort of looked at what I wanted. I left, went to the food court, got lunch, and ordered online. And that entire experience can exist with a live component without ever going into that particular retail location. So this shift is transformational in a way that's more than just, I think, let's say a higher engaged level of e-commerce or a higher engaged version of e-commerce. I think we're going to see a shift in all of retail driven by live and driven by distributed social, which are these, I think Matt was talking about these influencers, nano influencers, micro influencers, and the Kim Kardashians of the world.
Right. I have a question to go to for you, Max. I was just curious because you have a really interesting outlook on this. Do you believe that live shopping will replace brick and mortar, or do you feel like brick and mortar will always exist?
Brick and mortar, I mean, I'm not Nostradamus, so I have no idea what's going to happen in the future. So
just curious though, curious.
I think in the, let's say 10-year horizon, I think brick and mortar will become experiential and serve a different sort of purpose, right? So maybe Nike has basketball courts and you go and you can play. But here's what I do believe, and again, I could be wrong. I've predicted the future incorrectly before. I think that you look at what's happening on the logistics side of e-commerce, things are going to be delivered to your home within an hour. They already can be by Amazon in 2 hours. So if you go to a retail shop at the Grove to purchase something, I can't imagine that these retail shops will ever carry inventory. They'll have the sample product, you'll purchase it, and it'll get delivered to your location within an hour.
Right.
So it won't be about physically going to the location because you need to pick it up, I guess, unless it's an essential like deodorant or something. But outside of that, I believe live and social commerce will start to replace those core functions, and the retail experience will be an elevated experience, not so much to physically give you the product, but more to express the brand, allow you to sample, and sort of become a part of whatever their offering is.
Great. No, that's really interesting. Thanks for answering that. I agree.
Some gold that we're hearing. I hope everyone's taking some notes. I want to circle to you, John. Because I know you play kind of in this world of technology and entertainment, and Max just talked about social commerce, and I think that's really what we're talking about at the end of the day. And so curious how, from your perspective, the current evolution of entertainment and technology, like how is that going to play into things? And I'm even thinking, I know Amazon is kind of playing around with this, and I'm sure the Netflixes of the world will get into this as well. But any thoughts on the larger entertainment ecosystem and this platform strategy would be great. And John, after you, I know Max, you may have some thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I think we're certainly we're seeing that now, right? Between gaming, sports, music, entertainment, it's rare now that you'd see a tentpole experience anywhere in the country that didn't have some level of art, entertainment, music, et cetera, right? Name any major sporting event. But I think, moreover, I think what the key strategy we've seen evolve from talking to and working with brands is the big success driver, which I think is part of this industry, is the ability to transform the viewer into a participant in the experience. Nobody wants, a TV feed on the internet, right? It's very flat, very passive. Even if you had, Drake and Lady Gaga, people will come and they'll check it out. But if it's a surveillance video-like webcam experience, they're not going to stick around. They're not going to invite their friends, and they're probably not going to come back. So the ability that this medium offers is to do just that, right? We can turn on things like a social stream, like chat, but it's curated. It's related to the video experience. And even if you're watching Lollapalooza or Coachella, nobody wants to see that social stream filled with complete nonsense, rhetoric, polarizing commentary. We found when the conversations related to the video, people lean in, they watch more, they bring more of their friends to enjoy the experience. But you can also turn on things like polling, chat, trivia, graphics, calls to action, and in the traditional marketing world, you're leading that consumer obviously down the funnel and giving them information. You're responding to the questions that they're asking. And I think that's largely this kind of infotainment strategy, right? You're giving the viewer far more bang for their buck than they would get in a traditional kind of passive experience. And that's where we see tremendous opportunity and tremendous success as well.
Yeah, when it comes to the technology, I remember 15 years ago, I worked at a reality TV company and someone was pitching me a shoppable video technology. It was built 15 years ago. The actual technology isn't new. So a lot of it is driven by what is culturally of the moment. And for so long, the Googles and Facebooks of the world did not make these tools available because it wasn't in the US. It didn't look like it was on a path for mass adoption. And now that moment has happened. It is, and we already, we're 4 years behind where China and Asia is in live shopping and in live streaming. So that door has blown wide open. All of the product teams at the big social networks are now making these tools available. So I think it's, where are we going culturally in terms of how people want to experience shopping or experience live or experiencing gamified components, as John was talking about, and what can we dream up, right? We don't need to necessarily build a new technology. It's about creatively incorporating a cool experience using the available technologies. And then there's a whole other conversation we probably don't have time for around like the walled gardens that the big social networks are creating that make life somewhat frustrating when you want to do cool stuff. But it's not because the technology doesn't exist. It's because they don't necessarily want you to do stuff with other folks. They want you to stick on their. I mean, John, I'd love to hear your thoughts on live streaming on Instagram, in terms of how they treat that capability. But again, maybe a conversation for another panel.
For sure. You can only live stream from a camera phone on Instagram, and only just recently were verified accounts lifted from a 1 hour cap to 4 hours. So the challenge with the social platforms, with the exception of Twitch, is it's not their day job, live video. And it's also not easy. Years ago, I had a live streaming technology company. I sold to AEG, and I moved YouTube into that overall market space. But it's a quantum leap to go from on-demand video to live video, or even an audio platform, jumping into live video. It's stressful. It's a challenge, and again, it's not their day job. So, there's strengths to some of those platforms, but there also are some challenges, to your point, Max. And but the technology does exist. You're dead on, and it's been here for a while. Mm-hmm. It's how do we execute it? How do we implement it? And how do we make it work properly?
So I know we are close to the end, and we could probably talk about this for 2 hours. But I want to give everyone an opportunity to both give their thoughts and perspectives on where they feel this whole industry as a whole is going in America, in the world over the next couple of years, and 2, how the audience, how people who care about e-commerce can get involved now so that they can have an advantage for that future. We can start with you, Matt, and then we'll go Armand, John, Max afterwards.
I think it's going to go up and down, to be very simple and just direct. I think anything that's being adopted is, look, the reality is there's so much technology. Forget live streaming and shopping right now. There are so many apps, technology, the rise of blockchain. You've got crypto. There's so many things that are coming people's ways right now, especially accelerated by the pandemic. I do think that it's going to go up and down slightly with the full, complete mass adoption of what this is and the true capabilities of it. And as you know, John, you highlighted extremely well, this technology is not new. Live streaming has been around for so long. And it's only just now, when people start looking outside of America to see what other people are doing, do people start to, get curious and really, put the pedal on the gas. So, for me, it's definitely going to go up and down, but I do truly believe that at some point it will become more of the norm of how people shop. So that's kind of, I forgot your second part of your question as well.
How people can get involved.
How people can get involved. I mean, there are a few really great platforms out there. A simple Google search would be fantastic to facilitate that. But yeah, I mean, to get involved on the consumer side, I think it would be to find a platform, get familiar with a host, and really start to use the technology. There's some companies out there that have great interactive features. And then on the other side, if you're in investing or if you're into, anything on that world, always look at the trajectory of where the company's going, not the technology.
Nice. Armand, you're up.
Cool. Yeah, I think it might have been Max who dropped like the 4 trillion stat earlier, but I think if you look at those numbers, like the retail numbers that we've talked a lot about internally at Whatnot is like, all right, 2020 retail, I think overall was like 26 trillion. You break that down to e-commerce, which is like 4 trillion, and then live shopping, which is something like 150 billion, with like the vast majority, probably 140 of it coming from China. I think it'd be hard to see like where things have been shifting and trending over the past the past year to not see both e-commerce rising in that, and then the percentage of live stream commerce within e-commerce rising as well. So I think there's just a lot, and I'll try to go quickly here. I think there's a lot that there's just a ton of like tailwinds and a ton of things. COVID obviously escalated, things quite a bit as well. And where I kind of see the future is like you're buying anything through live commerce. Like today, Whatnot's focused on collectibles. But I really see this working to like any different sort of product category. You could see tapping into like a vineyard in Napa and getting context on what type of wine to buy. Or even I'm obsessed with this website called Bring a Trailer now that I discovered it, that just sells vintage cars, and the amount of the price of these cars that are being sold just on pictures and of like a simple chat is insane. And imagine like those ending with an hour live stream, just getting more context on the car. So I don't know, I'm really bullish, obviously, but I think you'll just see this scaling to all different types of product categories.
Amazing. Thank you for that insight, Armand. John, what about you? Where's it all going? How can people get involved?
Well, I think this is the beginning of a golden era in this overall space. I mean, it's predicted that this market's going to grow to 11 billion in the US this year, and then double to 25 billion next year. And anytime you see a part of the world doing 150 billion in any industry, I think more dollars, more interest, and more activity is going to flow into the space. I know there was like a $50 million investment announced yesterday. So I see this as an interesting space. And to Max's point, it's all in a lot of ways tied to experiences. And I think as venues start to open back up, there'll be more of this push into an experience economy, and people not only want to go to something, but they want to take something from it with them. So I think you'll see, music artists selling, fashion product, more growth in things like, beauty, just a wide open space. And anytime dollars flow heavily into these companies, they have to staff, pretty quickly, right? There'll be all kinds of positions opening up. So I would, follow, as Matt says, follow, what's happening in the space. But when you see lots of investment, I've been in tech for a long time, hit a certain part of the segment, they're going to hire significantly to kind of fill those positions and spend that money.
Amazing. Thank you, John. And last but not least, Max, where's it going? How can we get involved?
I'll go quick. So I think we're going to see live shopping experiences become more ubiquitous on all e-commerce and retailer websites, in addition to the standalone consumer-facing apps like Whatnot and others. We help put some of those experiences together at Orca, so you can always reach out to us, and we're happy to help out. And that's where I think it's going, and it's an exciting space.
Amazing. Well, guys, I know we only have 30 minutes to talk about this amazing topic. Let's keep in touch. Let's talk more. Everyone in the audience, reach out to these guys. They know exactly what they're talking about. I learned a lot personally. I'm sure a lot of you learned a lot. Thank you again to eCom Week. Really excited to continue this conversation, guys. And everyone have a good day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Thanks, y'all.